Hello all, this is Sarah T. Reeds here, bringing you my first fanfiction reading. Now, this is only practice since I'm new and don't really know what I'm doing. So, I will be reading a one-shot Sontails story called February 14th by Revelcram. I hope I said that right. This is K+. It is Sontails, like I just said. Warning, this story contains yaoi, which is male x male. If you do not like that, please turn back now. It had been snowing all night. A thick blanket of pure, white snow lay heavy on the ground, while huge flakes of thin ice still tumbled down from the sky. The mystic ruins, which was now lush and green, was now topped with nothing but white. On a small hill overlooking the forest and a field stood a lonely building, a home and workplace of a young teenage kitsune fox by the name of Tails. Staring out the window, the 14-year-old sighed. He loved seeing the snow. It was too stunning for words. It made him sad to think that the clean, smooth layer of ice would soon be messed up and kicked around, full of deep footprints. Tails turned away from the window, his eyes scanning the room before him. Bright pink balloons and streamers lined the walls, a huge red banner hanging from the ceiling. There were pink hearts and hanging everywhere, too. Tails screwed his face up in disgust, swiveling around back to the window.
"What's the point," he muttered quietly to himself, "of having a whole day dedicated to love if you can't even share it with the one you're in love with?"
Tails didn't understand love. It was supposed to be a good thing, yet so far all it had done was confuse him, embarrass him, and force him to lie over and over again. The doorbell suddenly rang, making Tails jump from his daydream.
"He's here,"
Tails whispered to himself excitedly. He rushed to the door and pulled it open, his face falling as soon as he saw who it was. Or rather, who it wasn't.
"Hey, Tails,"
Amy said cheerfully, reaching down to give her friend a quick hug. She rose up again, looking anxiously over his shoulder into the house.
"Sonic here yet?"
she asked hopefully.
"No,"
Tails mumbled.
"You're the first one."
He eyed the small parcel in her hand, neatly wrapped in scarlet paper.
"What's that?"
he asked suspiciously. Amy held up the parcel. It sat tightly in her palm.
"Oh, that's just my present," she grinned. "You told us to bring one, right?"
"Yeah," Tails said quietly, regretting what he'd said about everyone bringing a gift for their secret crush, though Amy's was no secret to anybody. The doorbell rang again, and Tails ran once again to answer it.
"Hi,"
Tails mumbled to the small crowd of his friends clustered outside his door.
"Come on in, you're just in time." "Hey, Tails,"
Amy said quietly as she sauntered over to him. "What's wrong?" The kid sighed. His chin was in his hands, blue eyes staring miserably across the room at the happy people dancing to some old love song.
"Nothing,"
Tails insisted, failing to convince Amy at all.
"Sonic's not here yet,"
Amy observed.
"Is that it?"
"No," Tails said hurriedly, immediately blushing as he did so.
"I hope he gets here soon,"
Amy said impatiently.
"I want to give him this gift."
She clamped her hand over her mouth and muttered an "Oops!" They weren't supposed to say who their gift was for, and neither were they supposed to put who it was from the actual label.
"Don't tell him, will you, Tails?"
Amy whispered. Tails shook his head, sighing quietly. Amy thanked him and went off to talk to her best friend, Cream. Tails' eyes drifted to the window, and he noticed a blue figure standing there waving at him.
Sonic!
He whispered, his eyes sparkling. He ran over to the door, pulling it open immediately. Hey, Tails, Sonic grinned. Sorry I'm late, bro.
You're never late,
Tails remarked.
I thought you weren't coming.
I'd never let my little bro down, would I? The hedgehog chuckled, ruffling Tails' hair a little.
I'm glad you're here, Sonic. I started to think that... Sonic!
Amy squealed, leaping on the hedgehog and squeezing him tightly. Amy, I can't breathe. Tails sighed, walking away in disgust. He heard Sonic shouting after him, but forced himself to ignore it. Hey, Tails! A red echidna by the name of Knuckles whispered as the fox walked by him. When do we give out the gifts? I really want to see what she thinks of mine. He nodded towards Rouge the Bat, his girlfriend.
Well, now, I guess,
Tails sighed, glancing back over his shoulder at Sonic, who was trying to prise himself from Amy's grip.
Now that everyone's here...
Sonic opened the tiny box, raising the contents as he held them in his fist. He knew that Amy was watching him from across the room. Glancing over at her, he slipped the bracelet onto his wrist. It was way too small, the string digging into his skin and cutting off any hope of circulation. Ugh, he muttered to himself. I hope Amy doesn't expect me to wear this forever. The pink hedgehog ran over to him, pulling him into yet another lung-crushing hug.
Do you like your gift, Sonic?
She asked hopefully. Sonic growled, trying to escape from her grip. Amy, get off. Amy loosened her grip just enough so that Sonic could answer her question. Yes, he said flatly. No emotion in his voice at all. It was nice. Thanks for asking. I wonder who it could have been from. Amy squeezed him tightly again.
It was from me, silly,
she laughed.
I love the gift you gave me, Sonic.
Tails, who was sitting not far away and listening into their conversation, suddenly raised his head. What are you talking about, Amy? Sonic growled. I didn't buy you anything.
Don't be silly, Sonic. I know you did. Those shoes I told you I liked. They're so gorgeous. I'll wear them all the time.
Tails felt hot tears filling his eyes. Amy, listen to me. I didn't buy those for you.
Of course you did. The label said, from your hedgehog admirer.
Tails gave a small sob before running hurriedly out of the room into the cold night air. Tails, wait, Amy, let go of me. I need to talk to Tails. He prized himself away from her grip, shoving her away and running outside after Tails. Tails couldn't help it. He didn't want to cry, but the tears wouldn't stop flowing down his cheeks.
How could you, Sonic?
He thought to himself.
You knew, and you still wanted to keep her happy. How could you do this to me?
Tails! Sonic ran over to the end of the runway where Tails was standing.
Leave me alone, Sonic. I don't want to talk to you.
No, Tails, please listen to me. I swear, I didn't give Amy anything. She must have read the label wrong or something. Tails shook his head in disbelief, sobbing quietly. Sonic walked over, resting his hands on the kit's shoulders. His hands slowly snaked around Tails' neck, and the kit was pulled into a tight hug against Sonic's chest. Please don't cry, Tails, he whispered, rocking the fox gently back and forth. I don't like Amy. I'd never buy her a gift, not even for her birthday. I always pretend I've, forgot or something. You know I do, Tails sniffed.
But the label, she said...
Yeah, I think Shadow's the one that got it for her. Tails giggled, resting his head on Sonic's warm chest. He could feel Sonic's heart beating gently. I got you something, Sonic said quietly, as if embarrassed to admit it.
Really?
Tails whispered hopefully, looking up into Sonic's emerald eyes. Sonic pulled away for a second, holding out a small velvet box. A fine red ribbon was wrapped around it, tied into a neat bow.
"What's that?"
Tails asked, suspiciously pointing towards the tatted string tied around Sonic's wrist. He pulled it off, tossing it over the cliff. They both watched it plummet down and down until it dropped into the deep sea of blue. Sonic offered the box to Tails again. The kid soon took it gratefully, untying the thin, red ribbon and opening the box. His eyes widened.
"Sonic! It's so beautiful!" he gasped.
"You like it?" Sonic grinned sheepishly. "You don't think it's a little too girly?"
"No, Sonic, it's perfect."
He gently lifted the small chain, letting it hang from his fingers. The silver chain was decorated with small sky blue jewel in the shape of a teardrop. "I thought it would go well with your eyes." Tails smiled, snowflakes falling around him and landing on his cheeks. He gazed up at the hedgehog.
Do you want me to put it on for you?"
"Do you want me to put it on for you?" Sonic asked. "Do you want me to put it on for you?" Sonic asked. He gently took the pendant from Tails. The kid soon turned around with his back to Sonic. He pulled the chain around Tails' neck, fastening it at the back. The small blue jewel hung down Tails' chest, reflecting light from the stars and moon. "It looks nice," Sonic grinned warmly. Tails fiddled with the bright jewel, running his fingers over the smooth surface. Sonic leaned down, laying his lips gently on Tails. They remained like that for a while, kissing for minutes, until they finally broke apart. "Happy Valentine's Day, Tails," Sonic whispered.
"I love you, Sonic."
"I love you too."